I am Moustapha Akkad. I am the producer and director of this film. It was such an experience in my life I never forget because of the difficulty I faced. First of all, as a subject about the Prophet Muhammad and Islam, it's very sensitive vis-a-vis the Muslim world. You have to get all the permissions. And then, I don't know how you can make a film where the character cannot be seen, all his major characters cannot be seen, which I myself really, I'm not against it. I agree, because prophets should not be portrayed. Against portraying Moses or Jesus or Muhammad. That takes away that image of every human he has. So therefore, that was a difficulty, and in that respect, the character of the film, Hamza, was much bigger than what he was basically. But by the absence of all the other characters, he was the one who shined the most. To make this film, I went to do a film director. I came to UCLA and studied and masters, and then it was very difficult to find some work and so on. But anyhow, to me, when I have my kids started to grow up a bit, and I wanted to find a way to teach them about their faith. But more so, I found out the misunderstanding of Islam in the rest of the world, and I thought I should do a movie like that. Now, I give my biggest help from, God bless his soul, a famous director, Sam Peckinpah. Sam Peckinpah got in touch with UCLA. He wanted somebody to help him on a film on the Algerian Revolution. So the UCLA gave him my name, and I went to work with him on that film. And then Algeria got its independence, so the film was cancelled. Then Sam Peckinpah was called to MGM to do Ride the High Country, Randall Scott and Joe McRae. So he took me with him to work on that film, and that was my really big experience in directing with Sam Peckinpah. The director that influenced me most is David Lean and Florence of Arabia, and that's why on this film, most of the technicians, the talent, I took most of them from the same background as far as making such a film. And obviously, you have to make a film, you cannot see the character. The biggest problem is, of course, who participated. Jack Hilliard, director of photography, with his camera. He played the role of the Prophet, so the actors, they have to talk to the camera as if they were talking to the Prophet. At the same time, there is a musical tone that also, God bless his soul, Maurice Jarre, he had a certain musical note. When we hear it, we know the presence of the Prophet. So these two elements helped me, but still it wasn't an easy job. First of all, you have to get the financing, and it was a big struggle. And then where to shoot it? Obviously, the best place to shoot was in Morocco because of the landscape, especially the extras, the cavalry, all this. So we made the script, and Harry Craig, also God bless his soul, he was such a great scriptwriter. He understood the whole subject more than I did. Being a Muslim, he was so inspired that inspired everybody around him. I got the script. Of course, you have to get the approval of Al-Azhar University in Cairo and the Shiite Council and all this. So it was quite a struggle. And then to start getting the financing, and then finally we did. And we started, let's say, the word started shooting. That's a kind of an easy way to say it, started shooting. It was really quite a rough one because sets and costumes and horses, extras.
"600 years after Christ died, when Europe was sunk in the Dark Ages and everywhere the old civilizations were falling, Mohammad was born in Mecca, in Arabia. Mecca was then a rich trading city ruled by its merchants, whose wealth was multiplied by a unique privilege. They housed the gods.
The story is about Mecca. Mecca was obviously the place of the idol worshippers, whom they have their idols, and every year they come to Mecca to worship these idols, at the same time to trade. It was a business-like center.
Once the most holy shrine of Abraham, the Kaaba had now become a house of idolatry, boasting no fewer than 360 different gods. Mecca, in 610 AD.
I was very impressed with Tambi Larson, who was able to build this set in the middle of the Moroccan desert. And then another one, really, I learned a lot from Phyllis Dalton. She was the costume designer. And we had all the costumes made new, and every day I come, before shooting by a month, she used to wash all these costumes and just spread them in the sun. Every day, I told her, Phyllis, what are you doing? These are new costumes. Why are you putting them in the sun like this every day? She said, in the desert, you don't have any. They have to be, the colors cannot be sharp colors. They have to be faded colors. That's why she put them in the sun. And then she washes them so that they don't look new, like some of these sometimes amateurish picture. The actor could be running in the desert for 2-3 days and coming in, and you see him all clean and ironed and starched and so on. So I learned a lot from that.
They'll be thirsty.
Put 5 more men on the North Wells.
How many sheep shall I have them kill for them? 70?
Give them 100. Mecca must keep her name for hospitality. And 10 lambs for the leaders.
I brought Anthony Quinn a month ahead of the shooting. Anthony Quinn, obviously, myself being an Arab background, if I wear the costume, the Arabic costume and the robe, I wouldn't know how to move and act comfortably with it. So how about Anthony Quinn? So I brought him a month ahead to have him dressed in Arabic costume, the Arabic dress, and live with it so that he gets used to it. It becomes natural to him. Everything, the whole costume falls around his body, so it's not a distraction.
Rich, patron of the arts.
Also, I put him with the certain tribes. He wanted to go and sit with the tribes and to learn their hand gestures. That was his idea, and I thought that's really great. And obviously, people, when he walks in the streets, they think he's one of the local people. They salute him, Salamu Alaikum, and he answers back. They don't know that he is, a non-local from Hollywood, a superstar like this.
From the silkworms of China, my lady.
For me, as a new director, somehow, to work with Anthony Quinn, I don't think you can, actors like this, you cannot tell them how to act. Obviously, I became an arbiter whereby I was very clear to tell him what I want. And he listens, and then he gives me. And he really, then I start choosing. Oh, I like some of this lower, this is less. it was that kind of a relationship. But at the beginning, it was tough when we signed him and in our script reading. Anthony Quinn is a superstar, no doubt. So while reading the script, he started to, he wanted this, change this line, change this scene. Then I told him, listen, we cannot do this. This is the scriptwriter job. You can give your opinion, but you cannot force it. He said, I cannot, and he just folded his script and he doesn't want it to continue. But what helped me is that I was the producer and director. You know, these stars, when they go, they are on the side of the producer. They can just have their point of view, or the studio's representative. Or there was nobody. I was the one who was the producer, director, so he had to listen to me. And then, obviously, he closed the script. He sat there, and I said, well, okay, we continue. We continue reading, and slowly, he started to participate in the discussion, and he was, at the end of the meeting, he was just absolutely the most cooperative. I've never seen in my life such a... I mean, that's what makes them, these superstars, so great. Now, when we come on the set to shoot, Anthony Quinn, of course, he comes in and he walks around, he sees this, he liked to... I used to say, hey, come on, let's start, okay, we want to... He wants to ask, he wants to interfere, and so on. I pulled him on the side. I told him, Anthony, we cannot do, because once we're going to start shooting, He told me, do me this favor. Give me 1 minute only when we come, just so that it's not a show off, but I feel more relaxed if I do this. And then I promise you 1 minute, and then you have it yours. I said, okay. And we did. And it was really fantastic relationship, which, made me go with him to another feature, which is The Lion of the Desert.
On his way home. Then he's still up there. 3 days. I'm afraid for him on the mountain, because I don't know what it means. Men see the world too well from a mountain.
In this message here, which is the great experience as far by the fact that it's the only time where the same film was shot in Arabic and in English with separate different actors, the whole script, because the language of the Quran I wanted to be done purely in Arabic. So now here is the big, the actors, English actors, Arabic actors. Now, Anthony Quinn played the English, and an Egyptian actor, Abdullah Ghaith, played the Arabic part. Well, I thought we're going to have a problem of competition. But then I go to the Egyptian actor, he's scared. He said, oh my God, this is a giant in the film, in the world of movies and so on. Why don't you have him start first the scene? Because we shoot a scene, and then in English, the English actors move, the Arabic actors come, and we shoot the same scene in Arabic. So the Arabic star, he said, please let Tony come first. So I see him, I get, just learn something. I go to Anthony Quinn, he tells me, please let the Arabic go first, because that's his faith. I can learn something. I thought that's great. Both of them are really afraid of each other, which makes the competition was very valuable.
Suddenly, an angel came into him. The angel said, read. Muhammad replied, I cannot read. The angel commanded again, read. In the name of thy Lord, who created man from a sensitive drop of blood, who teaches man what he knows not. Read. Who knows
as if it was Gabriel. It could have been a dream.
When Mohammed was coming from the mountain, he saw Gabriel plainly, in the shape of a man standing on the horizon. Wherever he looked, upon every turn of his head, he saw him. And Gabriel said to him again, I am Gabriel. And you, Mohammed, are the messenger of God.
Who has he told about this?
His wife, and Ali, and his friend Abu Bakr.
And you?
I am his adopted son.
Be careful to whom you talk. Tell him his uncle, who protected him when he was a child, will protect him still. After all, they say the God of Moses spoke to him out of a burning bush.
If you do not restrain your nephew, then we will. He's dividing the city, hut against house. He's dividing the generations, child against parent.
The young are listening to him. He attracts the young.
We are Arabs. We obey our fathers. Our children cannot be our teachers.
How can we accept that a man we met in the street yesterday can be some God's prophet today?
Dead bones can live again, he says, because he who created man can also make man return from the dead, he says.
The gods might leave us and give their benefits to another city.
Tell him we will give him authority, position, the keys to the Kaaba, and money, what money he wants.
When we are shooting interiors, obviously we start with the English because all the crews, the technicians, all English speaking from Hollywood, from England and all this. So we do the scene in English first, and then the Arabic actor comes and the Arabic cast come in and do the same scene. In the exterior scenes where all the extras were locals, they only speak Arabic, we start with the Arabic so that the extras, they learn their movement and so on. So when we do the English, they do the same thing. So that solved our problem of the competition between the two casts and so on. So I guess it was a unique experience, I have to say, never done before. But I mean, in calculating the budget, we said, okay, I mean, extra 1/4 of the budget because just shooting an extra scene. But when we shoot, okay, the English actors say his line in English, like he's moving from one chair to the door, he says his English line. But when we do it in Arabic, it takes double the distance of walking because the Arabic language is more flowery, more expressive. So now we need double the distance to walk to the door, so therefore we have to change the sets. We didn't realize this, and all of a sudden the budget went up a little bit.
When I'm dead, you may do as you please. But whilst I'm alive, you'll obey your father.
Why do you hurt our father? If I were drunk every day and played dice every night, you'd call it high spirits.
You will be more my brother than you are now.
You are all my children. I've given you everything I could. But it seems not to be enough.
Mohammed gives me more. He'll give all the world more.
Get him out of here, Father.
It's something I wanted to the whole world to just explain to them about Islam. It's really informative, and it did a lot. I mean, it did a lot as far as the public relations and the understanding, and especially in the outlook of Islam toward the other religions, of the belief in Moses and Jesus and all this. I made a point to portray these scenes in the film, which we'll be seeing.
Yet God has said it all before. To Noah, Moses, Jesus, to all the prophets. But people changed it, turned it, forgot it. Now God says it to Mohammed again. And it is new again. What is it?
It's Jaffa. What have you brought with you?
The very word of God. When the sun is overthrown, when the stars fall, when the mountains vanish, when the camels, big with young, are abandoned, when the wild beasts are herded together, when the seas rise, when the souls are sorted, when the female infant who is buried alive asks for what crime she was killed, when the books are opened, when the sky is torn away, then every soul will know what it has done.
Were you there, Jafar, when God gave him these words?
Dawn is coming up.
Umar, you first. Then you, Jafar.
Umar,
You kept your mother awake all night with worry.
I'm sorry, Father.
Where were you? Have you been with Mohammed again?
What will happen now?
This scene, to me, is one of my favorite scenes. It was written by an Egyptian writer, Tawfiq al-Hakim. I mean, okay, here is an idol you worship, but he was broken. As it says in the lines, he couldn't protect himself, he fell down. So that was, in the meaning, very deep. The idols were their business income. At Mecca, they stored the idols inside the Kaaba and outside. So every year they come and sacrifice in front of these idols. At the same time, they sell and buy, and it was a big season. So the message of the Prophet about Islam is that God is everywhere, God is unseen. That hurts the Meccans, and therefore that's the main fight between the Meccans and the message of the Prophet Muhammad, because they live by these idols.
Why, only tonight he said, stop the burial of newborn girls.
I was fortunate, always fortunate with your mother.
Yes. But you know that you and I nearly never met, Yasar. And you were nearly never born. I was to be buried, like my two sisters. But my father couldn't do it. He couldn't do it a third time.
Of course, this is, I mean, as we go along, the conversion of some of these, getting back to their past experiences. They found a relief in Islam. I mean, this woman that they used to bury the girls alive, these idol worshippers. And then Islam came to save women from this practice. So I guess you find converters.
And he dared take away his hand. When I was born, my father ran out of the house screaming that he couldn't do it again, that he could never do it again.
So, my, it is the custom.
It is wrong. The gods that let such things be are no gods.
I promised to go to Mohammed's house, Mother. We pray there.
Yes. He's a good man.
Yes. Yes, you go.
Read? Muhammad can neither write nor read.
Nobody can speak.
What did you say? He can speak? Well, so can you. So now you speak up, young man. What does Muhammad say?
This is the scene, of course, of this conversion of this slave supposed to be Bilal. Bilal is known in the history, Islamic history, as one of the first converts. And in this scene here, I think it portrays very well this conversion.
He remembers every word, then he tells it to those who can write. This is the Quran.
Muhammad has starved himself into dreams. He hides under a blanket with his eyes shut.
His eyes are shut, but his heart is open.
You, kick him for his cleverness.
There's no purpose in that. Doesn't Muhammad realize we live by giving housing to the gods? We own the Kaaba. Every year, the tribes of Arabia come here to Mecca to pray and to buy from us. Now, were we to replace 300 gods with just one, whom we cannot even see, who is supposed to be in Taif and Medina, here in my house, in Jerusalem, on the moon? Where would Mecca be then? The gods are both our worship and our revenue.
You cannot buy and sell God.
Young man, you are close to the whip.
Umar, be sensible, boy.
I have a question. Muhammad teaches you a slave is equal to his master. Is Black Bilal, whom I paid money for, equal to me?
Yes. Muhammad says, before God, all men are as equal as the teeth of a comb.
I got the actors, I got them mostly from England because it was close to our location. The smaller parts, the other parts from Hollywood, like the slaves part is Johnny Secca. It was quite a find, I mean, because he was great. He played the part beautifully.
Lash his face to teach his mouth a lesson. Whip him! Whip him!
Cut him.
Whip him!
Do it, bro.
That was quite a rebellion for a slave not to obey. I love the scene.
See what anarchy they bring. They've even infected our slaves. If you're human enough to have gods, remember, they are the gods of your owner.
I bought your humanity, Bilal, when I bought you. You will be corrected.
There's only one God.
Who's stronger now? Your master, or this one God of yours?
One God. There's only one God.
Bring the stones!
One God.
We shot the movie, half of it in Morocco and half of it in Libya. Because when we were shooting in Morocco, we got a whole kind of resistance and lots of complaints. I mean, all because they thought the film's going to be a bad portrayal of Islam, and so we had to stop in Morocco. And then we had to move to Libya. It was quite a move. I mean, moving all these costumes, horses, weapons, the whole crews, and to go a place where they are not used to the movie industry, so we had to just build things, and it was a major move. So this is now in Morocco here.
It's against our social order to sell a slave during his correction.
The offer is to Lord Umayyah. 200.
If the price of slaves is raised, we shall have to bathe ourselves next year.
Irene Papas, of course, one of the main characters in the film, Hind. She was really marvelous. So she's a Greek actress, and her combination with Anthony Quinn was ideal. She really portrayed that image of a angry woman against Hamza. She was one of the wife of the leader of Mecca, and at the end, of course, she will be defeated, but she played that part beautifully.
Hear well the word of God. Hear well the messenger of God. There are no other gods but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. There are no other gods but God, and Muhammad is his messenger.
Looking at the set like this, I mean, all this is all frontage. I mean, to me, what a creation of a set in the middle of the desert like this. It was quite a job.
We have come into light. Join us in the march to the Kaaba.
It took 6 months before we even move in to build the sets. I mean, the arrows, the bows, the costumes. I mean, this was quite an experience, I guess. I wish I have anything to do with it, but obviously what I wanted, it was just beautifully done.
There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God.
And now here, like, they are protesting. There's an interesting story about one of the extras, one of the Muslims supposed to be stoned. We took the shot and he was not moving, he was just walking. He wasn't taking the shots or moving like this, scared and so on. And then I stopped, I told him, listen, I mean, you have to a little bit react. Stones coming to you, you should be like, you know what he told me? He said, the more you pay, the more I move. I said, oh God, this is a good story to tell to Hollywood of the extras. So we paid him more, he had to move more. really was, Morijar, he wanted any theme that is known in the Islamic world. I said, I don't know, except the call for prayer. That was the main melody that's so used all over. So we got the notes. It took us a long time to get the notes of this because they don't know the notes in the do, re, mi, fa, sol, whatever it is. And the music, it was nominated for the Oscars.
Stand up! God is great! 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 God is great!
Especially the tone when the prophet, we portray the presence of the prophet, there is specific tune.
Most gracious, most merciful. Say, O you who reject faith, I worship not what you worship.
Keep them out of the Kaaba! Keep
Neither
them
will
out!
you worship what I worship.
Silence your false prophet! Finish, Muhammad!
Protect the prophet!
Messenger of God, back to the corner!
The introduction of Hamza here, to me, the scene that I admire most in my life is David Lean's scene when Omar Sharif was introduced, his entry in the desert, and it was so full. And I was so moved by that scene, and I tried to really kind of do similar. Anyhow, and this is something that always, one of the most important scenes in the film, the hero's entry like this. And Hamza is supposed to be the prophet's uncle, and he was not converted yet, but he was the big lion hunter, the big hero, and that's how we introduce Anthony Quinn.
You are brave. He is the bravest man in the desert. When he meets unarmed men...
Muhammad is a liar.
Liar? But you don't let him speak. Where's the lie and where's the truth? When it hasn't been spoken yet.
Muhammad is a fraud.
Stand up. Hit me back if you dare.
And this is the line now when Hamza declares,
I am for my nephew's religion, and I say what he says. Whoever has the courage to fight, fight with me.
and this is it. You see the absence of all the other characters, the Prophet, Abu Bakr, then his cousin Ali, all these made Hamza look much more important.
Mohammed, when I hunt the desert at night, I know God is not kept in the house.
Who would have thought that Hamza above all, with his wine drinking, lion hunting, will come to join Mohammed?
The more we attack him, the more they seem to join him.
The character of Abu Sufyan was played by Michael Ansara. Of course, he's from Hollywood, and he played the part very well. And Hind, supposed to be his wife, which is Irene Papas. These are the two main characters. They're on the opposite side.
How do we fight someone whose strength we do not understand?
Mohammed promises heaven, trees in the sky, so naturally he's found an audience.
Then we must make that audience less eager to listen to him. We will begin with the weaker ones.
Your turn.
Have mercy!
Stretch her!
I did other feature films, but I don't want to call them feature because I cannot look at them now. They were so really not good. But I think, yeah, I would say my first, kind of budgeted professional film. The others were low budgets, experimental, and so on.
Who is your God? Answer me! Say it! Say Hubal is your God! Say it!
There is only one God. And Muhammad is the messenger of God.
Now, to do a film like this, it was quite a big step in my life. I was a graduate, and you want to go and find a job, you apply, and always the question, what have you done? I have master's degrees. Well, what have you done? Well, if you give me the chance, I don't know. And so anyhow, it wasn't easy. I remember very well this something that Sam Peckinpah taught me. I remember when I was working with him at MGM, Ride the High Country, and he used to tell me, start from the top. You did 7 years of school, start from the top. I say, we heard this line before. Okay, sit down, write something. So I used to write something every day and bring it to him. He tears it and throws it away and so on. And then, being a foreign student at UCLA, I remember we used to be invited to homes and, American homes for dinners and get to know us and so on. Always the question, what do you think of the American food? What do you think of the American woman? What do you think of American education? So always these questions they want to know. I thought, my God, if they want to know so much, why don't I do a program to tell them about themselves? And I called it As Others See Us. I brought an African, an Asian, European, and Latin American from the school, students, and a moderator who was an American. And anyhow, the idea, I wrote it, and I went to all the stations. All of a sudden, CBS and NBC wanted that idea to do it as a public affairs program on a Sunday. Obviously, CBS will pay me $100 a week. This is a fortune in those days, in the 60s. $100 a week plus a producer credit. NBC will give me $400 a week, but no credit. I went to Sam Peckinpah. I told him this is what I got the deal between CBS and NBC. He said, oh, good, I know what you're taking. I said, of course, NBC, $400 a week. He told me, you son of a bitch. I swear to God, I can't always remember this. What do you need the money for? Take the credit. And really, that was, if any lesson to any starting in this business, the credit helped me a lot. Producer, CBS. I used to call any studio, I call any agency, and I try to call them sometimes when nobody's there, so I leave my message, my name, producer, CBS, so they answer back. And I was able to establish lots of connections and lots of this and so on. I was able to do some travelogue series with Cesar Romero. What helped me, the editing. I was really involved in editing. To me, my advice to any any filmmaker, whether he's a director or a script writer or anything, if he doesn't know editing, he doesn't know how to direct, because absolutely the film is made in the editing room. And by my experience in the editing, I was able to really kind of get my directorial practice in early days. And then through contacts here and there, I did some films, I did small films, documentaries, but if I look at them now, of course, normally I think they are not really such a masterpiece and so on, but it was a good experience. And then when I was doing this film, The Message, I thought I will do it a documentary first. And then after that, I said, why documentary, go into drama and so on. And I don't know, all my frustrations, my experience, my talent, all this came into this. And still, I think it wasn't the thing I want as far as cinematically speaking. You don't have the kind of drama, the highlights, then at the end, every word you cannot divert from the dialogue, you cannot portray this character, it was very strict, but anyhow it made the big impact, supposed to be because of this. Shooting this scene in the middle of the desert, that was, to me, I was really amazing. It looked like an ocean with all this sand, and the location was there, beautiful. I mean, we just do that. You don't have to have any graphic computers, tricks or anything. All was there, all reality and so on. So we enjoyed all these locations there very well.
We found their tracks and followed them, but they just disappeared.
They were there, in the desert, under the vultures, and you let them escape you.
Escape? They vanished!
Muhammad has stayed, only the weakest have gone.
Weak or strong, they'll blacken our name. We're honest merchants. We buy and sell in good faith. We cannot afford scandal. Abyssinia.
Of course, the Muslim, after being so persecuted, they were ordered by the Prophet to go to Abyssinia, where is a Christian king, where they will find protection and mercy. I really wanted to develop the scene because of the Western audience of a Christian world. It's very important to show the relationship between Islam and Christianity and the belief of Islam in Jesus and the Virgin Mary and so on. So I did develop this scene very extensively, and I think that's what part of in the promotion of the film, we emphasize the scene so that people will get interested in seeing, not just seeing something there now and have nothing to do with it. So I thought that was a move from my part here.
If there's disturbance in that area, why am I not informed?
They are rebels in religion.
At one time or another, all religions were rebellions. The bodies of slaves are of the world and within our disposal. But as Jesus Christ is our shepherd, the souls of men are his sheep.
These are Arabs who have betrayed the religion of their fathers. They follow a lunatic they call a prophet.
But I cannot put souls into chains without hearing them.
that's one of the really my favorite scenes here, because it tells a lot about Islam and relationship to Christianity and so on.
Good. Their stiff necks will hang them.
This is a constructed set, because you can't find this set anywhere now. Like the palace of King of Abyssinia, it has to be constructed, obviously. And it was built in Morocco. And it took some research to really get all the set and that period.
Miracles, that we may recognize them.
The miracle of Muhammad is the Holy Quran.
A book! A book! Written by an illiterate, attributed to God. I think the Emperor has had enough.
I'm mindful of Pentecost, when God sent down tongues of fire upon the heads of Christ's apostles, so they could speak the many languages of the world that they knew not before. But do such miracles happen in our times? I've heard enough. You've made a poor case.
When we suffered persecution in Mecca, Muhammad told us, go to Abyssinia, the land of a righteous king, where no man is wronged.
What they called persecution was fair punishment. Their disorder and their...
Why did your prophet send you to me?
Because you believe in the book of the one God as we do. He sent us because in your heart God will protect us.
Talking with them is like drawing water from a mirage.
But they've now laid a duty on me to listen to them, my friend. Go on.
For years, we worshipped wood and stone, images of our own manufacture. We lived in ignorance of God. We had few earthly laws and no heavenly laws. The rich neglect the poor, and the natural pity of man, whereby he lifts his brother up when he has fallen, is described by them as upsetting social order. To this inhumanity has come a man whom God chose. And in that we believe.
You're overcome. I beg you to collect yourself.
I speak of the messenger of God.
Yeah, the shooting, it took us, I would say, about 2 years, because we had to stop in between to relocate from Morocco to go to Libya, and that took quite just the move of all these sets and costumes and even trained horses, and to move to Libya. And the actual shooting, we were very careful not to delay, and if it wasn't our choice, obviously, because of the cast, the expensive cast, we cannot have them stay long and so on. So it went well, considering the subject matter is so complicated. I think it went well. Probably the whole shooting is a year if you take off the days in between and so on, but the actual shooting, I know, it took us a year. But preparing for it, before researching the script, get the financing, it took 4 years. So about 5-6 years, I would say, went to my life on this film. But no doubt it put me on the map of these films, and then I started right away the next film.
Amr, you must respect in all women the womb that bore you.
Why are your 300 gods so tongue-tied, while his only God is eloquent?
God has spoken to us before, through Abraham, Noah, Moses, and through Jesus Christ. Why should we be so surprised that God speaks to us now through Muhammad?
Who taught you those names?
They are named in the Quran.
I knew Mohammed when he was an orphan minding sheep.
And we knew Christ as a carpenter. What Christ says and what your Muhammad says is like two rays from the same lamp.
They are lying to you. They deny Christ. You worship three gods, they say. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, they say.
What do you say of Christ?
They say God cannot have a son. Christ is not the Son of God.
Speak to me of Christ.
In a film on this size, obviously, we had not one second unit, we had 2 second units. We had to shoot far away location and so on, but especially the battles. I had a good, obviously good assistants. I mean, the assistant director was Carlos Gil. He was a Spanish guy. And also Gus Agosti. He was these 2 assistant directors, first assistant directors, and then we had so many other secondary. I had a great assistant, was June Bortkosh. She was very helpful. I mean, at the time you don't think of it now, but when their help around you is very essential, I would say.
Your God, to announce the birth of a holy son to you. She said, "How shall I, Mary, have a son when no man has touched me?" And Gabriel replied, "For your Lord says, it will happen. We appoint him as a sign unto man, and a mercy from us. It is a thing ordained."
We had lots of local assistants from Morocco and from Libya whenever we moved. That was a big help for us. I mean, besides the actual assistant, there was the governmental army, for security and all these assistances, so that when we ran out of extras, we used to ask the army, they can give us some. Really, because they just have their hands open to us for a subject like this, and they believe in it, and therefore every assistance possible we were able to get.
Not for a mountain of gold will I give them up to you. You may live in Abyssinia in peace for as long as you wish. And may God's blessings be upon you on your return.
Intolerable. Muhammad disturbs even our foreign alliances. Very well. We will make a foreigner of him. Abu Talib has his arms around him. Very well. We will throw uncle and nephew out.
Of course, making a film like this, I mean, it was such a difficult process because the subject matter, and they are used to, I mean, the whole Muslim world, that always that Muslim image is distorted in the Hollywood. Always they are the bad guys, they are the thieves, they are the whatever. It was really truly distorted. So here comes now a movie about the Prophet and Anthony Quinn and so on. They think it's going to be another one of those films. So it was really quite a resistance all over. That what took me 4 years to go from one place to another. And obviously when they know you, when they read the script, they know the details, then it becomes easier. That's what I was able to convince the sources of financing from Kuwait, Libya, and Morocco.
These were the worst years of Muhammad's life. For 3 years they suffered the hunger, thirst, cruelty of the open desert.
In Morocco, we had help from the king himself, King Hassan of Morocco, who really was giving us all the assistance we need. But then there was some of the Islamic scholars, one of those a little bit on the more conservative. They started to ask him to stop shooting and so on. So anyhow, he couldn't resist them, so we had to stop. And then we went to Libya, and I think Gaddafi was a little bit stronger in the fact that he was able to stand to resist them. And we continue shooting the film, and again we got all the assistance we can. Now this is all obviously without seeing it, but then when they saw the film, and the whole thing has changed all over. Even in the United States.
To hear him.
With the death of his uncle, Muhammad had now lost all protection. He was no longer safe in Mecca. Alone with Zaid, his adopted son, he went to the hillside town of Taif. He asked to be taken in, to be allowed to preach. But the children of Taif were turned loose to stone him back into the desert.
We shot the film and we got it finished and we opened it. We opened in 2,000 theaters all over the United States with United Artists, and we were enjoying that first night of opening in New York. And here I get a call from the FBI telling me that some Islamists, Hanafi Muslims, they have a guy in jail. This is a black movement called Hanafi Muslim, have nothing to do with Islam really, but that's what they call themselves, and that they attacked 3 buildings in Washington, D.C., and they took 22 hostages in protest about the film, protesting the film. So, God, what a surprise to us. So the FBI told me, "Are you going to stop the film?" I said, "Are you asking me to stop it?" He said, No, we can't ask you, but if for the situation that we are in, if you are considering this. I said, let me, discuss it. I discussed it with all the, distributors there, the United Artists executives, and we talked about maybe, of course, we should stop it. Then we stopped the film, and we were on the news all over, every network news from Walter Cronkite. The publicity we got on the film and what happened to it and so on. So that went on until they resolved the problem of the hostages and they released them. And so we said, okay, now everybody wants to see the film. So we opened the film. After 4 days, we reopened the film. Again, this Hanafi Muslims, their leader, he was in jail. He announced, he said, any theater that plays this movie, we will burn it. Of course, we got in New York. I was on Broadway, opened on the Broadway theater, and people walk on the same side of the theater, and then they go around to the other side of the street so that to avoid being in front of the theater. Of course, that was not good. Now, of course, every time I go and meet these guys, whatever is called Hanafi Muslims, so they carry me on their shoulder and they just, because they have... I offered to them at the time to see the film, look at it. If you think there is anything against Islam, then, we can stop it. He said, no, he refused. They thought it was a negative, and they thought Anthony Quinn is going to play the prophet, which obviously you cannot show the prophet. The same Hollywood, they are used to the Hollywood distortion of the things. And after all this, obviously one of their members saw the film and was really surprised. And then when they saw the film, it looks like made them really changed their mind and they invited me, they honored me, there was a time when I was walking from the car to the theater, they carried me on their shoulder, and so they changed, obviously, their objections. They owned the videos. It was quite an experience for me in this. So I got a good, clean bill of behavior.
Muhammad has become a nation. He has received a city, entered into pledges and treaties. And you, Salul, who claimed to be king of Medina, lost the kingdom last night while you were in bed.
You should worry about yourself, Busafian. Every time you trade a whiff of perfume up to Syria, you must creep past that man in Medina. He is across your mercantile throat, so to speak.
And what do you intend to do?
I intend to wait.
And how long will you wait?
Till you and the rest of Arabia remove him. To save your way of life.
And while you wait?
I shall accept his call, of course. Does he think I will give him my birthright? I will not. Medina is worth a conversion.
Hypocrisy.
Call it a healthy hypocrisy.
King Salul, wiping his face on the floor 5 times a day, praying. I don't believe it.
He may not have to. We'll do now what we should have done before. Kill Mohammed.
Come and see. They say that practice leads to perfection.
Seven young men, each from a different family. My own son Ikrimah is with them. They will stab him together. If the responsibility for his death is shared, where lies the guilt? My idea.
I'm not sure I'm part of it. Muhammad's body contains too much. His mind, his words.
But it is an ingenious solution.
And a final one.
Oh, this lovely lighting of Jack Hilliard. My God, that was such a contribution to the film. To my surprise, we were in the middle of the desert, sun shining. I see light equipment, lighting. He used lighting in the middle of the desert. And so I guess, I told him, Jack, what's this? He said, no, you need to soften the shadows and so on and so on. I guess that was a great contribution.
Who are we fighting? He cannot go far. All the tracks are watched. He must take to the desert.
Now, working with the actors, it's just really just inner psychology. I never, after the scene, want to stop something wrong, want to repeat it. I never speak loud to the actors, telling them how. Never. I walk slowly and just pull them on the side and murmur in their ears whatever comment I have. This is something that I learned, and they really, Anthony Quinn told me this after. He said, really, I like this in you. I respect that. I said, well, I respect that in you also. I mean, like editing, my experience in editing, when I shoot a scene, I always shoot a cutaway shot. whether I need it or not. Just a clock on the wall, a watch, a ashtray, anything. Just so that the editor will not swear how I'm going to cut this scene to this scene, but he has a cutaway, so that saves him. I use this a lot, I guess.
Smelling the air.
We go with them.
And on the set, I keep everybody informed. I mean, to me, I realize that even the guy who sweeps the floor, he wants to know what is going to happen next, so that otherwise they don't know what's happening, like a mess. I always keep everybody informed.
Mohammed, come out!
I smoke a pipe. I started this in college. It was a show-off and so on, but then stayed with me for the last 35 years. Why I was hooked on it? I mean, people who start smoking pipes, they always just kind of, they get tired of cleaning it and stuffing it and burn all this, so they give up. To me, it helped me. How? Between the scene and a scene, when we finish a scene, I move on the set. I want to think where I'm going to put the camera, where I'm going to put the actor, where he's going to move to. If I stop and think a little bit like this, all the crew around me, they think, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, standing there. So I use the pipe, cleaning the pipe and stuffing. While I'm doing all this operation of the pipe, I'm thinking at the same time. I'm not standing there and just observing what am I going to do. It was a trick. I tricked them by the pipe. And I was hooked on it now until now. I wish, can. I guess is life. In practice, you put it. And actors, I see they have their emotions. They are humans. And as I said, you cannot tell an actor how to do a part, especially big actors. But if you know exactly what you want and make it clear what you want, that's what I think is a good director. You cannot tell the director, you cannot tell an actor how to act, no, he's an actor. You just tell him exactly what you want, and then they give you all this. I mean, this is, to me, this human relationship with actors was very important to me. And especially when you have two casts, and they are kind of, Arabic cast, they think themselves local, and these are Hollywood, international cast. So you have to play the psychology, make them feel they are equal. And which is they are. I mean, to me, there is no such a thing as international, known world actor and a local. And the talent is the same. It's just a matter of technology.
Run and hide. I may be obliged to free you as a gesture.
This is easy seeing the extras to get them excited, running, yes. But in some scenes, you have to use a trick so that you make them act what you want. They are simple, they can look you right, left. Here, easy to have them all looking at supposed to be the prophet in his camel, So somebody's riding on the camel and telling him, waving with his hands so they can wave also. That's not difficult to tell them. But when you want to have them give you emotions, reactions, you cannot ask them to, because they are not actors, they don't know, and they just kind of look right and left. So in those I used a trick, always trick them. Like the entry to Mecca, for example, is a victorious entry. I want their faces so victorious.
You will stay with me, messenger of God. I had the best house in Medina. You will give me the honor of keeping you. Stay with me!
Please. How can the Prophet choose between so many welcomes?
Where God guides his camel to stop, there he will build his house.
All agreed. We turn Qazwa, his camel, loose. And where Qazwa sits, the Prophet stays.
Clever man. Choice made by a camel can offend no one.
Here we will build the house of the Prophet.
And our first meeting place, a prayer house. The first mosque of Islam, here. God is great. God is great.
Obviously, in the Prophet, he was like any one of these guys who were working and they were following him, but we cannot portray him. And as I mentioned, I agree with that theory, even though it's not necessarily religiously mentioned, but I don't want anybody that is like a prophet, like Moses, Jesus, or Muhammad, to be portrayed, so always to play this. So when he entered Medina, they received him, and they want to take him to their kind of homes and so on. So one of the Medina people suggested that we leave the camel, wherever it stops, there we build the house of the Prophet. So it was quite to train the camel, first of all, to walk by itself, and then stop, and then kneel. That was it took us a whole day to shoot this one scene, because the camel, all the trainers were hiding behind the cameras, behind the walls, and just to have the camel move. But I think we finally got it. This whole scene of the Medina, this is where they really, refugees, established themselves there, and that's something that we played a bit, and they were received by the people of Medina, or they got the Muslim refugees, and then they were all, the rest of them were converted. And they built the first mosque. The first mosque of Islam was built in Medina, and here we go through this process. And then obviously the big thing, a mosque, then how do you want to call the people to pray, and whether it's a bell like the church or the horn in the Jewish religion. So at the end here, I think they got on a human voice, and that came the call for prayer. And the first one who really, is known, Bilal, was the first in Islam, the first one who called for the prayer.
But there's something missing. Maybe a bell to call the people in.
The Christians use a bell?
What about a horn? Like the Jews?
A drum. There's too much blood in a drum.
Why not the human voice, as in Umar ibn Khattab's vision?
If the Prophet agrees. He means you, Bilal.
Of course, this is supposed to be all the Prophet's instructions, Prophet choice, but it loses its strength by having others speak for him. They turn their face, they look off the camera like they're looking at the Prophet, and then he tells them to whatever to do, and they carry this to the camera, the rest of the cast. I guess it wasn't an easy job.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.
It is, of course, very sacrilegious to not only to see him, but to hear his voice, anything related to him, which, believe me, as much as I faced difficulties in this whole thing to portray this, but I believe in it strongly. I cannot sit and watch and see Jesus talking. That upsets me to see all these movies about Christ and so on, or Moses. These are, just something, every human has their own image of their, kind of prophethood or whatever. It's not something I like to do, regardless of the difficulties I made. So the Muslims, I think, through their very strict insistence, they were able to keep him off cameras. But unfortunately, as far as Christ and Moses, they portray him, and every movie made, some new actor comes play Jesus or Moses. Somehow, I don't like it. Even though it's not in the dogma of the faith or in the Quran or anything like this, especially as far as the Prophet Muhammad, because he says he's a human being like everybody else. He died, and but their insistence, which I strongly agree with them, that they should not, because every Muslim has a certain image in his mind about such a holy character. I don't want to see some other human to play it.
What? All Muslims are next of kin to one another?
Don't be misled by that. He must change the nature of the tribes before that. The danger is here. Equality. A man's neighbor is as good as himself.
The lunatic means it.
Jews and Christians have equal rights with Muslims. The Jews who attach themselves to our commonwealth shall be protected.
Women have rights of inheritance.
Rights? Next, he'll be giving the camel rights.
He has. The lunatic has. You can't overload them. He's remaking a city. My city.
Damn him. He's taken our sons from us. Our future from us. His rights are our wrongs.
No more. This time, it will not be just as riffraff. We will take everything of value they have left in Mecca. Their rugs, their houses, their silver. And with it, enlarge our caravan to Damascus.
My friends, listen to me. I have news from Mecca. Everything you have left behind is gone. The thieves. Abu Bakr's shops, the Prophet's house, sold. Every cup or piece of cloth, every rag or bone you ever owned is thrown on the market. You are a people of nothing. Don't you even fight for what you own?
Who talks of fight?
What other way is there, Hamza?
When the Prophet says fight, we fight. Now he says peace.
Exactly. You're a peace-loving people. Up to your necks in forbearance.
Go back to work. We have to defend ourselves. You are the messenger of God. Yet they mock, abuse, and plunder us, and we do nothing.
Of course, in this film, lots of credit goes to scriptwriter Harry Craig. It was not an easy subject at all. And I took him to Cairo. We worked with Al-Azhar University. That's supposed to be the Islamic institution as far as the University of Islamic Studies. I had with him about 7 or 8 Islamic scholars, and he was there sitting. He was Irish, and he was amazing. Every 15 minutes he suggests something, he says something, they get up and they kiss him, because he understood the faith himself and how he dramatized it. It was really something that I myself, I always say, without the word we can't do anything. The word is what counts. And he really gave me the word to be able to succeed in this. And after the whole year of working in Cairo on the script, then Al-Azhar University stamped every page of the script, the approval from the religious point of view. And that's the Sunnis. And then there is the Shiites also. So we presented it to the Shiite Council in Lebanon. And they read it and they stamped it every page also. So I guess we got the approvals.
But look at the sun.
It's not the time for prayer.
It is newly revealed by God to his messenger. Fight. But fight in the way of God against those who fight against you. Drive them out of the places where they drove you out, for persecution is worse than slaughter. Fight them until persecution is no more, and religion is for God. But if they stop, let there be no more war.
Of course, the sound, we had not a problem, but being on location, far away from any studios, any recordings, I think we had a fantastic quality of sound by, I think David Hilliard was the sound man, and he really did a good job and so on. There wasn't any of these modern technologies. I mean, the sound that was supposed to be there mostly was done at Twickenham Film Studios. Jerry Humphreys was the sound mixer, and he really did. He contributed the whole. I mean, we had to do revoicing, we had to do lots of sound effects, and this Jerry Humphreys, I mean, he's an Oscar winner mixer in London. Did a fantastic, I mean, we just really like, we were living the whole atmosphere while sitting in the studio, just like your studio here now.
These are the disciplines the Prophet puts upon you. You may not harm a woman, a child, or any old person. You may not harm cripples. You may not harm the man that works in the field. You may not cut down trees. Strike only at those who have expelled you, who have stolen your rights and enriched themselves with your possessions.
Now, to the wells of Bedar.
Jews from Medina! Arm! Arm yourselves! Arm yourselves! Defend your wealth!
Muhammad has come out of Medina to attack the great caravan.
How many men?
300. 2 horses.
We'll mount 100 horses. How many camels?
70.
We'll bring 170.
And load 20 of my camels with wine. We'll make a feast of it. This is a war I'd like to fight. A war we cannot lose.
Obviously, with such a big Hollywood production to be in their land, it's something that is always very attractive and attracted many, not just from Libya, from all over the Muslim Arab world. They come and watch, and we get visitors, we get guests, we get dignitaries watching the shooting, ministers come sometimes, and you know, but we were totally kind of nobody interfered in our work as far as decisions and suggestions at all. And they see Anthony Quinn, they just like, I mean, they think he's he's like a Muslim. They ask me, did he became Muslim? I said no. We asked him, he said no, I am a Catholic, I am proud of it. But after making the film, I got the respect for this religion, and that was really the answer. We had shots, cranes, not helicopter, no, but planes. Sometimes we had, but we never really used it because it wasn't very steady, just sometimes, but we never used it. Crane was our biggest up high lift.
The wells of Bedar, here. Muhammad's march, here. My charge of the caravan, here. 1 day's march. Meet them at the wells. I don't like it. There's too much of Mecca in my caravan to be risked. Put out the fires! Load the camels!
Obviously, shooting in the desert is always no problem as far as the sun, the light, and so on. It was really just great, except when we get some sandstorms. And we got some of those, and one day we got such a sandstorm that really blew up the whole set almost. I mean, 2 days we stopped shooting and barely saving the sets, the costumes, the whole thing. And obviously then we have to start all over, re-cleaning, rebuilding, redo this. And then we have a scene in the Battle of Badr, supposed to be the storm. We need a storm that helped the Muslims in their fight. So there we had to bring the big fans and the sand to blow in front of the cameras to create the storm. I wish we were ready at the time when the storm came to shoot it while the storm was on, but we created the sand and we had a good experience watching it, what would happen, so we imitated it. With the extras, especially scenes that are normal to them, sitting around and playing drums or dancing and so on, it was quite normal, I guess, to them. So we didn't have any of these problems. Only the problem when we needed some facial reactions, and that was, but moving, jumping, killing, killed, that's no problem there.
Muhammad has occupied the wells.
He has moved directly into our line of march. He's mad.
The Sophian's broken camp. He's moving west, away from Badr.
The caravan is safe. So there is no need to fight.
Not fight?
If we fight, we will start blood feuds between brothers.
Between father and son, you mean? Hudayfa, your own son, is with them. He should have been whipped. Mecca is greater than your family. Walid, your second son, he is your true blood.
I say fight. We stand in the present. Let the future look after itself.
Utbah is not a coward.
We finish them tomorrow. We fight!
To edit this film, it was really quite a job. I mean, to edit both versions, and it was supervised by John Bloom, was a great, really great film editor. And obviously we had to bring an editor from Egypt to do the Arabic version. And just two separate setups, rooms, and I was just going back from one room to another, check on this scene in Arabic, check on the other scene in English. It was quite an experience, but John Bloom did a marvelous job. I think that's something that I always remember, especially after finishing the film. Now we want to see the results. We're seeing scenes assembled together and so on. That always was good. Battle scene, which is always, that's very important part of the film, these battles. The difficulty I faced is not really in the actual fight which we had, the stuntmen, extras, but in the masses, whereby if you are on the Muslim side, it was so simple and easy. They can just respond, they're going to run victorious. The problem you go with those who are the idol worshippers part, and they're supposed to be defeated part, so it wasn't easy to convince them that this is a film, this is history. So it's something that you have to kind of just lecture, more psychological than actually the actual action. The actual action was left to the stuntmen and those who are designing the battles and so on. But the horse is such an important part in this, whereby Tammy Reeves, we had the horse master, how he trained the horses to fall and how the stuntmen fall. I mean, that was a big factor in the scenes of these action films. This is something up to I don't get too much in the middle of the battle, but all I want to see, I can always portray to the second unit.
So, Mohammed's filled the world. Now if we want water, we'll have to fight. For theirs.
Good. We fight.
The tent there portrays the prophets, that he's present, he's giving the orders, and that's any symbolic vis-a-vis the tone of the note of music that we feel his presence. Or when they come out, they say the prophet said this, said this, I guess.
Send us your champions! Who are you? We expect our peers and our equals.
This location was in Libya, way in the middle of not far away, because we wanted this actually, it's not just desert, any mountain a little bit. And I have in the making of the film the preparation for these locations and the moving of all these people, the buses, and the 70, 80 buses going back and forth, bringing the extra trucks carrying all these weapons and costumes, and this is all in the making of the film. It have all this visually, you can see it wasn't an easy job. And of course here in the Battle of Badr, this is the character of Ali, which is the Prophet's cousin. Also we cannot see, but we see his sword that has double blades. That's the sword of Ali, it's known. And he was quite a hero, so we saw the sword, means that's Ali. I guess no problem in the Muslim world to understand, but to the West is quite sometimes hard time to portray all these things.
There is only one God, and Muhammad is his messenger.
Casting, I mean, we had English-speaking parts do their English parts, and the Arabic-speaking speak the Arabic part. This is in the long, scenes and long parts, yeah. But if it is a short scene, it takes 2 words, 3 words. We used to give one of the local actors to give him the line, and he can train him. We had a coach of language. He used to tell him, and then he can say the lines anyhow. So we cannot bring every single word, bring an actor from Hollywood or London so there are lots of crossover in the acting. Most is those stunt fighters that really kind of mostly they were Spanish. They were good in the horses. The horse stunt were good. I think the film is a bit on the long side. Probably now looking at it could take about half an hour, 45 minutes. Probably could be shorter. I feel a bit there is certain length probably we could do without it.
Archers, advance! Archers! Hold!
This is what takes a long time. I mean, what makes the battle is those detailed shots, the cutaways of the detailed fights and the horse fall and so on. That's time consuming, but it's always second unit, third unit camera, 3-4 cameras running, shooting details. And sometimes we stage these details. Somebody's being stabbed, the horses fall and kill somebody. This is something that you stage is like part of the battle, so you have to spend the whole day like just small scenes here and there, so that there'll be see, like this one was shots. All these are separately kind of planned and shot. For example, Bilal is fighting here with them. Bilal is the first call for prayer. He made the first convert of a slave, Islam. So fighting here, and he kills his master who whipped him. He'll seize him and he will kill him. But so that we make it clear, he has a turban, so I had the one fighting him take the turban off so that we recognize him. Now he sees his masters. I said, Umayya, and he goes and just revenge.
Umayya!
Funny how we had to find stuntmen that are, they look like the actor. Like this character, for example, an actor, we cannot have him fall from the horse. I mean, we had to bring a stunt that looks like him. We have to look like him, dress like him, and this is really it was a big job because we have so many of these actors involved in these battles and so on. We have one of the parts, heroic on the horse, like Khalid ibn al-Walid, who comes at the end. He has never been on a horse in his life, but he is the big horse hero, but we have to depend a lot on the stuntman to do. Once in a while, always good to inject some of these moralities in wars and treat the prisoners and so on. And I think this is a good time now, the timing of it these days. They talk a lot about prisons and hostages and so on. I think there is a certain sadness because they lost the battle and their major characters were killed.
They blame me, hidden. For whatever reason, good or bad.
Irene Papas did a fantastic. I remember this scene here, how she did, because killed her father and brothers.
Why sing at me? Why sing my father's name, my brother's name at me? Do you think I need you to remind me? Muhammad, Ali, Hamza.
This is the big thing, is the big struggle between Hind, which is Irene Papas, played by Irene Papas, and Hamza, played by Anthony Quinn. And the end, I think, probably we'll see, when she's hired a black slave to kill him. And then when she found him in the battle killed, she opened his chest and she chewed on his liver out of revenge.
And when you're dead, Hamza, I will cut your heart out. Taste your blood. Cut you to pieces.
Hind was determined she wanted revenge from Hamza. Kill him or suck on his blood or anything that will. It became so personal with her.
We will prepare it and plan it.
So in the Islamic tradition, you have to wash before you pray. I mean, you just try to introduce the whole practice so that people who are not Muslim get the idea of how they go about it.
Is it a plague? What kind of an upside-down town have we come into? You could fill your pockets very nicely here.
It's supposed to show that, in other words, they all go to prayer, but they leave everything in the open to designate that it's safety and people... the faithful do not steal or rob. It's all these kind of messages.
Did you stop in Mecca?
Long enough to rest my camels. Camels rest better in Mecca than anywhere in the world.
Yes. What is the word on the desert?
Oh, it is bad for you. They are gathering. Every young man with a sword is on his way to Mecca.
Our strength is here.
Do not underestimate them. They are summoning up their courage. In Mecca, there is music in every house.
See here now, this is a scene whereby she will choose that black slave to kill Hamza. Washi is the wild slave supposed to be. And he is the one that I saw in the hotel. I was in the hotel in Libya, and he was an electrician, and I saw his eyes, his face. I thought he would be good to play the part. And I told him, do you like to act? He said, yes. I said, okay. And anyhow, we got him trained and do this and so on. Now, obviously, he's going to kill Hamza, which is, oh my. I mean, that's the uncle's prophet. He's the hero, and he's going to kill him. So we come in on the scene, the shooting of his killing. Obviously, we put the camera, put few fighters in front of him with the sword, fencing and fighting and so on. And he's supposed to sneak in between them and come with the spear and just hit him. We took the shot and he tried to come in between those fighters. He could not 5 times. And then I stopped. I said to those fighters, hey, come on, this guy is we has to pass so that he kills Hamza. He said, we won't let him pass. He's going to kill Hamza. They won't let him pass. You're dealing with people who really, ignorant about this whole thing. Anyhow, we shot the scene, and after a year later, I was in the hotel. I get a phone call. Who's this? He said, Salim. Who's Salim? He said, Wahshi, the character's name. I said, how are you? He said, oh, God forgive you. Why? He said, well, everywhere I walk, they spit on me. I cannot find work and all this because he killed Hamza in the film. And this guy's just life became hopeless. So I had to call the Ministry of Information to make him a salary so that he can live the rest of his life.
I will free you, give you your weight in silver and your height in silk for one throw like this.
So they have come at last. We'll know how many soon enough.
My biggest difficulty is, of course, is directing extras. And extras that are, simple peasants, they are not professional extras. I guess the most difficult thing of directing is directing children, animals, and extras, not the professional extras. So you have to trick these, whether it's an animal or a kid, trick him off camera so that he gives you the reaction you want and you record it. Here is the Battle of Uhud, supposed to be the revenge battle, and where the Muslims were defeated. So the Prophet supposed to be asked them to retreat, for the Muslim to retreat. We're shooting the scene, action, they're supposed to retreat, they don't retreat. I shoot it 2, 3, 4 times, they don't. And then I said, when I say action, it means you retreat. He said, no, we are Muslims, we will not retreat. So I have to dress the army, the Libyan army, dress them like the costumes of the extras so that they pull them by force to retreat. This is it when you are dealing with, obviously, people that are simple. That's their experience in cinema, acting to them is how they live. Now, there are some shots where you can see pull them by force, fine, you understand, maybe some fanatic and so on you could pull out, but that's part of the problem I faced with these people who think they are living today. They don't believe in history. And this is how, I guess, dealing with non-professional extras, I would say.
Hamza!
Yes?
The Prophet asks if you have noticed those horsemen.
Yes, I have. I don't like them.
He's sending out 50 archers to watch them. No matter what happens, the archers must hold off those horsemen.
Saeed, tell the Prophet we're ready.
What do you think, Hamza?
Well, they outnumber us, so I'd say it's a fair fight.
Here, you see, this is where the drama of the film is not like any other, whereby in the middle now, Hamza will be killed. He was supposed to be the main character. And another character, which is Khalid ibn al-Walid, he appears from the other side and he became the hero for the next half of the film. So this is where the drama is not as, there's a climax and it's divided.
Hamza!
Weapons ready! We march! Now!
Attack!
battles the same always. It takes lots of details. I mean, okay, we get the master shot whereby we see the whole master thing, but the difficulty in the small details of the scenes, of the shots here, a horse here falling and so on, very time consuming so that you get a full scale of a battle. Now, the scene, like here is the Wahshi. He's coming to kill Hamza, and obviously he was trying to infiltrate among the fighters, but as I mentioned, they won't, when it come close to him, they know that he is going to kill Hamza, and so they won't let him pass. I was afraid they might even kill him or something, but they were against. That's why he is known when the film is shown in the areas there in the Libya, and they see him, he's the one who killed Hamza. So therefore, this guy spit on him, he couldn't find a job, so the government has to make a salary for him to live on.
They've killed Hamza! Onto them!
This is our moment of victory.
They're running away from us.
Let's get the loot! Stand where you were told to stand!
Now, a new character comes in as a big hero later on, because also he's known Khalid ibn al-Walid. He's the one now with the against Islam, and he's the one who defeats them in this battle, who infiltrates, he goes around and come from behind. Now, it's obviously, that's the time when the Prophet asks them to retreat, but they refuse to. I mean, not they refuse to in actual, they retreat, but in our extras in the film here, as I said, they refuse to. And he later on, this fighter, this the one who is attacking him from the back, he is converted to Islam, and he became the sword of God, they call him, because he was such a famous fighter, hero.
Mohammed is dead! I saw him fall!
No, no! He's alive! Fighting!
Now they are retreating. Now with the retreat, Most of them were army dressed in the cut so that they will retreat early ones. In the back, they were refusing, but we didn't cover those shots. Sometimes by force, they were dragging some of them to withdraw because it's just the pride of them to withdraw.
Thought we were beaten. Our victory is yours, Khalid.
We have no victory until we have finished Mohammed. He is up on those rocks.
We have finished our business. We have avenged Badr.
But we can end him and Islam forever.
Some of his fanatics are still with him. They have the advantage of the mountain. The risk is too high.
Muhammad, listen! A day for a day! The day of Uhud for the day of Badr! Our dead have answered to your dead! Our dead are in paradise! Your dead are in hellfire!
Obviously, when Hamza is killed at the planning of Hind with this Wahshi, the slave, she come to see him in the battle.
Hamza?
And the famous revengeful cutting him off.
Do you hear me, Hamza? Do you know that I'm with you? Hind. Do you remember anything, Hamza? How you killed my father and my brother? Now you two are dead. My heart is light. Do you hear, Hamza? Light. But I haven't finished with you. Death is too small. Washi, cut him open. Cut him.
Of course, in a film like this, where it has to be approved by all the Azhar University and all Islamic institution, is all accurate, historically happened, and we cannot deviate or change or replace. Everything is according to history.
They defy reason. They are even happy they lost. God sent their defeat, they say, to try them in their faith.
Oh, yes. They're fighting for the sky. They'll get what they want.
Of course, battles are violent, and battles, especially when a sword is involved, like you just see it face to face with the blood and so on. But there was no restrictions, because that's what happened, and therefore I was able to do all these scenes.
Mecca is like a homesickness of the soul to them. This year they're going as pilgrims.
What?
Unarmed.
Unarmed? Abu Sufyan will slaughter them in the desert.
If you believe in God as they do, it might be possible not to get slaughtered.
Of course, a film like this is so sensitive. Everything has to be approved. The script, page by page, it's stamped. And we cannot change a word, we cannot add, we cannot replace. And it is like it's stated at the beginning of the film, stated approvals by the Azhar University and the Shiite Council of Lebanon. So this is something that it will hamper a little bit of the creativity, yet it gives a more challenging creativity to create so that you are part of this complicated script. So the execution is a challenge by itself. It needs lots of creativity to produce it, direct it according to a very strict text. At the same time, you have to use your ingenuity, creativity to communicating this to the public. So that was my biggest challenge. Some places I think I succeed, some places I think it was very difficult.
Even in this struggle, we have to follow his example, be true to ourselves.
After shooting this whole film, obviously, in the condition of the approval is that to be screened before to go public, and we screened it in Cairo to Al-Azhar University, and it was quite a formal with all the dignitaries and the religious symbols and so on. It was a standing ovation, applaud, because they were really moved, and that's something that gave me a kind of a nice name in the Muslim world.
Peace be to you.
These are all the kind of the scenes to how this hero is being converted. He defeated the Muslims at the battle, but now he is observing them, their behaviors, their teachings, their preachings. So indirectly is being portrayed to the world. Like we have some scenes whereby they kind of pray and spread the faith. And we chose some very important sequences of preaching, especially to communicate to the Western world and to the communicating of the other religions, to Islam and Judaism and to Christianity. That's part of the same reason I did the scene of Abyssinia, the king of Abyssinia, and how the relation between Christianity and Islam, this relationship in the dialogue.
It's Suhail. That means we might come to an agreement.
Mohammed, you have been given conditions of truce between yourself and Mecca.
Also now in the preaching, you send these preachers, you hear some very kind of positive messages, which could be very valid even in these today's problems.
In the name of God, the most gracious. Who is this new God they call gracious? I do not know him. Strike him out. And I cannot agree with this. Mohammed, the messenger of God? If I had thought you were the messenger of God, I would not have fought you.
The shooting of the two versions was shot always together. Instantly, we cannot, but because, the same sets, the same extras, just the Arabic version is like an extra shot, like extras, we shoot a scene 4 or 5 times, so another 3 times for the Arabic, so a waste of time to go back and forth and this. Shooting it like this, that's what made us the budget a quarter more. We added a quarter of the budget more for the extra version of the Arabic. But then we find some difficulties as far as the language, whereby the Arabic language is more lengthy, more poetic, so it needs more time. And so that was the problem in the movement of the actors, for example, saying their lines. Then if we have an actor saying his line, moving from one place to the door, we shoot it in English, simple. We shoot it. Then to shoot in Arabic, we found out to express the same meaning, you need double the distance. So this way it means, we have to build the set, extend the set, and this is we didn't realize in the budgeting. But the rest was not a problem in the big shots of the action and the battles, whereby bring the actors, put some insert shots in there. So at least the big expensive shots, the master shots, were used for both versions.
These letters from Mohammed, messenger of God, to the rulers of the world, call the world to Islam. To Heraclius, emperor of Byzantium. Kisra, emperor of Persia. Mukaukis, patriarch of Alexandria. God go with you.
There are no different races in Islam. An Arab is not superior to a foreigner, nor a white man superior to a black. All return equally to God.
Obviously, this film is shot in 2 versions, English and Arabic, in separate cast. Just the whole, like 2 films, one the same script, shot in Arabic and in English. And now the English part was used to show all over the world, but it was dubbed to all languages, the English one. But the Arabic is never dubbed, that's in Arabic, because of the language of the Quran is Arabic, so to make it as a kind of a symbol.
Christians with their testament must be respected by you, for their books likewise came from God.
You must not think of Muhammad as more than a man.
That's what helped shooting two versions, obviously, and the fact that all the big scenes are used for both versions. But when you go into a close-up where you have to identify an Arabic actor or an English, it means shot separately. So when we are shooting a battle, obviously we shoot all the master scenes, camera used to both. And then obviously we bring in the cast of both sides, infiltrate them through the battle and take inserts here and there so that we put it in the whole film.
He said, but even I do not know what will become of me.
Amr, have you come to take me again?
No. I have come to ask you to take me.
I witness that there is only one God, and that Muhammad is his messenger. May God forgive me the times I have fought against you.
Islam does away with all that went before it.
Khalid ibn al-Walid, that's the famous hero. He comes, he's now converted to Islam after he was listening, observing them, and so he was the big hero. This way now he became, they called him the sword of Islam because he was a big hero.
And may I offer you my...
Yes. But you were the bitterest sword against Islam.
Now, by the will of God, I will be the raised sword of God.
Music is this. Maurice Jarre really did this score that we always in demand. They want the CDs of the music.
Ah, it's all easy to God. Just as he makes dying living, he can make losing winning. 2 years ago, we thought we were beaten when we had to sign that truce. Look at us now, charging from victory to victory in the hearts of men.
What's that?
That's the big leader of Mecca, Abu Sufyan, the husband of Hind. He comes to Medina to apologize because there was a peace treaty and they broke the peace treaty. Now he's coming to apologize to the Muslims in Medina.
Why am I insulted like this? I am Abu Sufyan. I expect some courtesy. We are not at war, we have a truce. I have come to speak to Mohammed. Where is he?
He's in the mosque.
Mohammed, we did not break the truce. I have come to reaffirm the truce. I speak for Mecca. Mohammed, why do you turn from me? Don't go. Mohammed, don't go!
This is here when he's speaking to, supposedly, to Muhammad. It worked well with the camera moving and he's following the camera. I thought in one area where the subjective camera worked, representing Muhammad.
Khattab, you are my kin. Intercede for me. I must be heard. I am Mecca. I am the leader of Mecca. Why am I insulted like this?
Because you keep no promise and respect no pledge. I have heard what I never thought I'd hear. Abu Sufyan asking for pity.
Now, that's Khalid ibn al-Walid who was fighting with him, an ally, and then he was converted to Islam.
To be outfought. Outmaneuvered by a one-time shepherd.
You saw that shepherd's religion grow from a speck.
That speck was in my eye. I could see nothing.
Tell Mecca the gods are dead. It is useless to resist God. Travel fast, for every man here will be close behind you. It's you who have broken the truce.
This is the big battle whereby they go back to Mecca, where they were return of the Muslim to Mecca. Supposed to be a big battle, but they went in without a battle.
For tonight will be 10,000 men from every tribe.
And this is where really it's the scene where it's supposed the Muslim army coming in, returning. And I wanted, when they come and surround the Kaaba, some on their faces the look of victory. And this is where I had to trick them, to play on them a real scene of some heroes that fought in the 73 war in the Middle East. So that I made a scene, I made a play for them so that I get the reaction of their faces.
Are you the leader of Mecca? Look at yourself. You are broken. They swallowed you and spat you back. Did my father and brother die? For my husband ran away? You go home, you!
We cannot resist. Mecca is taken.
No!
To do this, to get their reaction, their faces and so on, I thought you cannot give them directions, how to give you expressions, because they don't have the experience. I told them, tomorrow we are not shooting, we are celebrating the birthday of King Hassan of Morocco. brought them to a big square, and I built the stage, put the flags and the king's picture. And I told them for that occasion, we are inviting the general who, you see, that was the war of 73 between the Arabs and the Israeli in 1973. And the Egyptian army crossed the canal and the Syrian army crossed the Golan, anyhow, at the beginning. So I was shooting this film in 74. I told him for the occasion of the king of Morocco's birthday, I am bringing the Egyptian general who crossed the canal and the Syrian general who crossed the Golans. Oh, at the time they were so excited, and I brought two actors. I dressed one in an Egyptian general and another Syrian general, and I put them in cars far away, a mile away. I have some soldiers running next to the car. I played the whole scene. At 11 o'clock, I said, give them the signal. They start moving, and they're all waiting for two visitors coming for the occasion. And they came, and they are all excited, and they got up on that platform to tell them about their experience in the war. Now, obviously, under the platform, I have cameras, hidden cameras, taking reaction of their faces. And those reactions worth really, some of the shots worth $1 million, because when they enter Mecca victorious and they surrounded the Kaaba, those shots were very important. I mean, they really give you the reaction of those simple extras.
Say what you've come to say.
I tricked them in another scene. Now, the final scene where the Prophet, he spoke to all the Muslims on the mountain of Arafat. On the mountain, he spoke to them his last speech. Now, there I want them to cry. How can you tell extras you cry? You can never. So I thought I'm going to also trick them into it. In Marrakesh, in Morocco, Marrakesh, they have a big square, they call it the Fenna Square, where they have all magicians, food, and players, and monkeys, and storytellers. A big square, very, very nice. I watched a storyteller, he was telling a story to a few people sitting there, and they were just so moved listening to him. After he finished, I came to him. I told him, can you make them cry? He said, the more you pay me, the more I make them cry. I said, okay, now I need you. So the same trick I did for the battle scene, now for the last speech on the mountain, I told them, tomorrow we are, for the same occasion of the king's birthday, we are having Hassan Sheikh. It means a big religious man coming from Mecca. I mean, I'm talking about today. Mecca is the, center of Islam and so on. Coming for the occasion. Oh, somebody coming from Mecca to Morocco, boy. I dressed him, and the same thing, a platform, same thing, hidden cameras. And the time came, this Sheikh, this holy man came in, and I ran and I kissed his hand and kneeled in front of him. We are acting in front of them to give them a scene. I had director of photography, Jack Hilliard, doing the same thing. All of them, everybody kissing. So the audience were really moved. And he started to talk to them about the last days of the Prophet, how he lived, how he did, how did this. And you have to see the tears coming from their eyes. Really tears. You would see them now on the film and so on. So, really, I mean, you have to trick, you have to play. How can you tell a child how to act if you don't act for him so that he react to you.
Get inside. Get inside. Close your door.
Now here is the famous entry into Mecca. That was the big return of the Muslims back to their home, to the Mecca. And they came without any fight. They surrendered. Again, Maurice Jarre's music, always very moving. And coming into the Kaaba, who's housing where is all the gods and the statues, and now is the time to destroy all the gods and into one unseen God, supposedly. These Muslims, they were living in Mecca, and they left after being persecuted. They migrated to Abyssinia, then to Medina. Now they are returning back.
No doors may be broken down, nothing plundered, nothing seized, no one abused. All behind closed doors are safe. All in Abu Sufyan's house are safe. All by the Kaaba are safe.
That's, of course, we get into toward the end. You get all the famous statements. This is the defeated but converted.
His word. They haven't forced a door.
He storms hearts, not walls. It's a permanent victory.
I dread going out.
We must appear in.
Were we so wrong?
The way we lived, yes. That was wrong. We were trapped in our own faults. Our gods were less than us.
Now there he is, making his entrance to the Kaaba.
At the time, I think when shooting this scene, the Steadicam was very vital to portray the Prophet's point of view and to play in the Prophet place, like in shots coming to the Kaaba, around the Kaaba, he was riding on the camel. So really it gave that feeling. And now going into the Kaaba to the Prophet to destroy the statues. I mean, that's the like the finales of the mission.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. God gave this house to Abraham to be a sacred place. Worship no other gods but him and cleanse his house.
We're shooting normal. I guess we have no restrictions of unions and so on, obviously, except the crew that we can always make the adjustment with them. But for the rest, is working 12 hours. And it takes longer time, the setting up. I mean, you are not working in an atmosphere of a studio whereby everything is all ready and available. It's time consuming, no doubt. Exactly. This is supposed to be the first call of prayer in Mecca itself. The call for prayer is something like, of course we went through it, how the voice of man to call for prayer, but it has a certain melody or a tone that is recognizable anywhere in the Muslim world. And that's what Maurice wanted, Maurice Jarre wanted the musical notes for this. And we had a hard time to find, all over, to find somebody who can, because they don't have it based on a musical notes. And then finally we found somebody who was not necessarily a religious man, but a musician, and he gave it to Maurice. And right away, he kissed him and hugged him.
He declared Mecca a holy place. No one may shed blood, or cut down a tree, or kill a living thing in Mecca. Soon, all Arabia was converted, not only to the new worship, but to the new laws, manners, attitudes contained in Islam. The Prophet had lived to see his work done, but now he began to feel the nearness of death. One great act of his prophethood remained, the setting of its seal. He called the people to him, and he spoke for the last time his message of surrender to God and humanity to man.
This is the last scene of the film, and this is the last speech of the Prophet to the people. And you see on their faces, that's all cheated looks, because they were listening to that supposed to be holy man that came from Mecca talking to them. And you see their faces, some of them crying, some of them, because it's not that we set them there extra, we tell them now you're supposed to be sad and cry. No, we told them somebody is speaking, and he spoke to them about the last days of the Prophet's life.
Let all your feuds be abolished. You must know that every Muslim is the brother of every other Muslim, and all Muslims are brothers one of another. Between Muslims there are no races and no tribes. Nor must you take anything from your brother except what is given freely. Do not oppress, and do not be oppressed. O my people, I am but a man. It may be that the angel of death will visit me soon, and death will overtake me. But I have left you a book, revealed by God, the Quran, which is light and guidance. Now he repeated to the people the final revelation of the Quran, the seal and termination. Not Muhammad's words, but God's word. This day I have perfected your religion for you, and completed my favor to you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion. On June the 8th, 632, in his 63rd year, Muhammad died. Many of his followers could not believe the fact. How can such a man die? But Abu Bakr, the Prophet's friend, stood up in the mosque. If anyone worships Muhammad, let him know that Muhammad is dead. But he who worships God, let him know that God is alive and cannot die. They buried Muhammad beside his mosque.
From here, right away, transformed to today. This is, now, today. The film is finished now. The pilgrimage of today, all this.
Still to Mecca they come, mankind. The people of Islam dressed in their pilgrim white. All equal before God, all united in this place of prayer.
It was shot in 74, 75, 76, shot in real pilgrimage in Mecca.
God.
This is one call for prayer that's coming from minarets from all over the Muslim world. Like this is Iran, and then this is in Spain, Andalusia. Alhambra. Turkey. Egypt. Indonesia. Sudan. Look at that music. See the music, like the call for prayer. this is the end of the film. I hope it left an impression. It's just to clear the misunderstanding. It's purely informative, and I hope it reached its message to inform you. I thank all this crew that came from. We were 28 different nationalities working on the film. If it does create the same understanding among people, peace and understanding, I would have done my job. I thank you.